What's going on? Showing off the king here, and I'm here to bring you a rant and rave video today. I just got word that there is another Dragon Ball Z game in development, and it's called Dragon Ball Z Sparkling Omega. And basically, in America, would probably be equivalent to a Tenkaichi 4 or an Ultimate Tenkaichi 2, whatever the situation is. They just announced it, and definitely want to come on and talk about it for a little bit. I've actually, funny enough, I've been thinking about doing another video. I don't know if you guys checked out my other video, which is a rant for the Dragon Ball Z Connect game that's being released, which is going to be complete booty. And I don't advise any of you buy it because you're just putting money in their pocket for putting out a piss poor game. And we know it's going to be piss poor. All you got to do is look at the Star Wars Connect game, and then that's how bad it's going to be for the Dragon Ball Z Connect. But this video is not about a Dragon Ball Z Connect. I don't want to be pulled in to that, that world right now. We're talking about Sparkling Omega, so let's talk about that. Now, not much of the game has been released yet. I know it was announced in the V Jump magazine, and I'm assuming within the next few weeks there will be some images out, some video out, some more details. But from what we know, they are claiming that this game will have the most characters in a Dragon Ball Z game to date. Now that does two things for me. That scares me, and that also excites me at the same time. And the reason that I say that is if anybody remembers Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkaichi, no, not Ultimate Tenkaichi, I apologize, Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi 3, that game was the perfect combination of Dragon Ball Z that we've gotten thus far, and it had the biggest roster available. So if they're talking about topping that, then that's a lot to strive for. But first of all, they got to get the gameplay together. And so now let's just. I wanted to. The reason I did this video was to come on here and talk about some of the things that they need to do to make a good Dragon Ball Z game. Because thus far on the next gen systems, they have not been doing a great job. Now I will say I did enjoy Raging Blast, and I did enjoy Raging Blast 2. But it still was lacking in the features, and it was still lacking in the characters. And again, the biggest issue that we have with Dragon Ball Z games is because, besides the fact that it's a complete rehashing of the story, is the fact that they like to bring out games and only give you limited amount of characters because they want to be able to add more characters on as the year goes by. They always do a graphic update and then they add on a couple more characters, and then the next year and a couple more characters. They don't ever want to give you the full pot because then again, what are you going to look forward to the next year? They have to make it a way so that you will come back year after year. And they've already established that with Dragon Ball Z fans, for the most part, as long as it's Dragon Ball, will eat it up, as long as it's a good game. So, there was a lot of issues I had with Ultimate Tenkaichi. The biggest issue I had with that game was the fact of the gameplay. That rock, paper, scissors thing killed that game. I mean, that game could have been so awesome, but it ended up being bullshit because of that, simplistic gameplay. And I know they probably did it to bring in a younger audience, but these guys have to fucking realize that your audience is teens to adults. You're not going to get a bunch of young kids buying these games. And I feel like all you guys do is try to simplify and dumb down these games for little kids so they can come here and then play it. But that's not how it works. You have to look at the games like Mortal Kombat. You got to look at the games like Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Those games have a core fan base, and it's not kids. And those games sell because these kids when we buy these games, we play them, they make tournaments, all types of things. And I understand kids are going to be a market, but you have to also make sure that you're not making it to the point where you're alienating your other base. We're not stupid. We're not just going to buy a game because you slap a Dragon Ball Z logo on it and say, okay, it's Dragon Ball, go buy it. Because I can guarantee you this Dragon Ball Z Connect, I keep getting back to this, that shit's not going to sell. Because number one, there's not enough people who own Connect yet, and no one's going to buy that bullshit. So anyway, I don't want to waste too much time. I definitely want to get into what I would like to see at a Dragon Ball at this point. Because at this point, it's just been a bunch of rehashing. You literally tell the story from the Raditz to the Majin Buu, or for most games, they tell it from the Raditz to the Cell, etc. What I would like to do, if they're gonna, let's talk about the characters. This is what we know so far. They're supposed to be bringing in the biggest roster of characters. This is what I actually want to see. I would love it so that you can actually break this game into parts. Like, let's get the original Dragon Ball series in here. Let's get a bunch of those characters in and drop them in here and make it into like a almost like a subset game. Like, what I would love to see, and the funny thing is that I actually went back and I was watching some of my old episodes of the original Dragon Ball series, and that series is awesome. The characters were awesome. It was almost to a point where it wasn't just an overpowering of just like Saiyans. Because the biggest thing about Dragon Ball, again, I don't have many complaints about Dragon Ball Z, but one of the things that I would say is that anything past the Vegeta saga, between Vegeta and the Frieza saga, all the secondary characters became useless because there was none of those villains they could even possibly stand up to, and it basically just left the fate of the world in the hands of either Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, or Goku. That was it. No one else, none of the secondary characters, like, not even, I guess you can't even call them necessarily secondary characters, none of the sub-characters like a Tien or a Yamcha or Chaozu or Krillin, none of them could really stand up to any of the later bosses. So it was usually just them being cannon fodder or some sort of thing where they would try to train, but then nothing could ever happen. I would actually like to see a part where you can go through the Dragon Ball story and all those characters from Dragon Ball are in the game, and it plays like a Dragon Ball game. So, for instance, the big thing about the Dragon Ball games was the tournament, the tournaments that they would have at the end of every chapter of or whatever arc. I would actually like to see it so that you could set it up so the ring, you can just polish and get it to the point where you can actually have some awesome matches in that ring. And when I say awesome matches, I'm not talking about where you just punch them, and they go flying out of the ring. That needs to be an aspect of it because that is an aspect of the whole tournament. But it needs to have some sort of mechanics so that you can't just have people spamming moves and knocking somebody out in 30 seconds. I would like to be able to see, I want to be able to use Tien because, Tien was an awesome character. But, because of the fact that, once Goku was an adult, everyone else overpowered him. But if you looked at him in Dragon Ball, he was one of the main characters. I mean, he actually beat Goku. He actually beat Master Roshi in some of these tournaments. So I like to have a little bit more focus on Dragon Ball as a whole. Just make those characters good and, have it so that that tournament can actually be fun and interactive. Whether it be, you can mash buttons if you get close to the edge, or if there's like a button sequence you can push before you get knocked out, something to that effect. I would love to see that. Now, also, when it refers to the characters, I definitely want to see some customization. Like, that was, to me, was the best part of Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkaichi, is the created character, and they cannot get rid of that. I don't care what you guys have to do. That creative player better be in this next game, or else it's a deal breaker. And not only that, you better give us some women that we can create. You better give us some Namekians that we can create. And you better be able to give us something where we can create some sort of human. Whatever the case may be, you better give it to us. Because at this point, you cannot create a character, and then just get rid of it because you're saying you're going to add in a bunch of characters. No, that's not going to fly at all. We need that creative player, and we need to be able to have more customization and the ability to make more than one character at a time. And also, don't make it so that when you do create one person, the stuff you unlock is only for that one person. I want to be able to, once I unlock something, should be able to go back and create as many people as I want to, as just like you would do in a wrestling game. Get that together, guys. And the other main issue that you guys got to fix with this new Dragon Ball Z game is change the story. At this point, we've redone this Dragon Ball Z story 1,001 times. It needs to be redone. I don't care if you have to make up what-if situations. Just make up a story mode. At this point, you guys own the license to the stuff. Just make something up. It doesn't even matter what it is. I heard someone else on another YouTube video that was talking about Dragon Ball Z, not Burst Limit, what is it? Infinite World. Sorry, I had to look at my game. It was Dragon Ball Z Infinite World, where Boo went back in time to the Trunks story. That's exactly what you guys need to do. You need to basically take the story and change it. And even from the direction from the what if stories, I don't want it to just be like certain battles. I want you guys to create an entire story that's original for this game. Just like you did for the creative player, as a matter of fact. The story that you guys created for the creative player, that battle was perfect. If you want us to create, even if you know what? How about this? Even if the story from the beginning is with a creative player. Don't even do the story mode. Don't even, do a story mode, but don't even do it from the perspective of, Goku fights Raditz, Goku fights Vegeta, blah, blah, blah. From the beginning of the game, you create a player, and the story mode is its own original creation that you use your character, and you go through it. And as you go through it, you unlock all the stuff for the character. So by the time you beat the game, you would have unlocked all the parts and pieces for that created character. So then you can go back out, and then you can create all your players, and you can go through mission modes or something like that, so that you will have the incentive to go back through the story mode again with a different creative player. And make sure that based off how you do things, there's like a path. So like, say if you fight a certain person and you decide to let them go, or if you decide to beat them or kill them, your path goes. So you can either be a villain or a hero, something along that line. Make it interesting for us. Make us want to come back and play it. But you better get that creative player right, and I'm not playing about that. Now, the only other thing that I would really want to say about this is the fighting system. Overall, that fighting system, the rock, paper, scissors, get rid of that. I don't want to see that shit at all. Like at all. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. What you guys need to do is stick with the Tenkaichi basic fighting style. Or hell, if you even want to go with the Budokai, where it's more like a 2D side-scrolling fighter with elements of 3D traveling around, that's fine. I prefer Tenkaichi just because of the free roaming. I love that aspect of it a little bit better versus like the kind of like fighting like forward/back, all that kind of stuff. So one thing that I definitely want to see is you can have the contact sensitive situations where a certain situation comes up and you got to hit the A or the B, basically how they do it in the Naruto games. That's fine. But what you guys have to do is make sure that fighting system is robust. Make it so that people of a higher skill set can play the game. But then at the same time, you can make it so that if there's an easy mode for little kids. So if the little kids want to just hit a button and do the move, they can do that. But then there's also a mode for the serious players like myself who can actually still go in and enjoy this game. Like I said, right now I'm not sold. I'm excited to hear about it because I really thought that the only game that we're bringing out for Dragon Ball Z this year was the Ultimate, the Connect game. So I'm glad to hear about the Ultimate Sparking or Sparkling Omega. But again, I'm not convinced right now because you guys have let us down for so many years. But again, I want to know what you guys think about it. What would you like to see them add for this new series? What are your wants and your dislikes? Things of that nature. Let me know. This is Showing Off the King, and this was my rants and raves.